It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here. Our Turkey Day episode coming up. We've got a name for Windows 10 20H1. You may not like it. The Chredge is almost here. There's a new business version, and PWA creeps back to life. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love
from people you trust.
This is Twit. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 649, recorded Wednesday, November 27th, 2019. Now, with more fluid. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Epson's EcoTank printers. This holiday, kiss expensive cartridges goodbye. The Epson EcoTank printer comes with a ridiculous amount of ink. Just fill and chill. Check out Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. And by Brave. Brave is the browser reimagined. Switch now to get unmatched speed and privacy and stop trackers from following you. Save battery life and earn rewards by opting into privacy-respecting ads. Brave is free and easy to switch to. Go to brave.com/twit and switch to Brave today. And by Worldwide Technology. Worldwide Technology's Advanced Technology Center is like no other testing and research lab, with more than $500 million of equipment, including OEMs like NetApp. And it's virtual, so you can access it 24/7. To learn more and get insights into all the ATC offers, go to wwt.com/twit. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft with Mary Jo Foley. Her blog on ZDNet is all about Microsoft.com. Hello, Mary Jo.
Hello, Leo.
Also, are you still in New York? No, you're in Rhode Island now.
Rhode Island.
Yep. Nice.
Yep. Got here this morning.
At your sister's. Yeah. Good. Getting ready for the big
in front of a curiously similar backdrop, though.
I know. Their sister. You look exact. Are you twins?
No, this is her boyfriend's backdrop. So all the books are about sailing and things that are not what my books are about.
Oh, that's interesting. And there's a big lab on the Irish setter on the back.
Yeah.
On that thing. Paul Thurrott is also here. He is, of course, the scion of Thurrott.
Scion.
I always wonder which way you're going to go with this.
I like having different titles for you. Scion of the Windows site called Thurrott.com. Not the Toyota Scion. Nor the detached living portion of a plant.
No.
No, but a descendant of a wealthy, aristocratic, or influential family. That.
Yes, I wish that was true.
He is the man about town at Thurrott.com. And each week we get together to talk about the latest from Windows. And this is our Thanksgiving episode. And apparently we have something to be really thankful for today.
What might that be?
I'll let you guys. Yeah. I'll let you guys take it from here.
Okay. Well, one thing we can be thankful for is we now know the version number of Windows 10 20H1. Mm-hmm. You ready for this, Leo?
Yeah.
What it's going to be called?
Yep. It's going to be.
They're going to call it Windows 10 2004.
Well, Windows 10 version 2004.
2004.
2004 they prefer, of course, but
yes,
everybody's going to say 2004.
Or in Satya Nadella's lingo, 200.
20019. Isn't
what do you say, Z?
Isn't 2004 the year we made contact? I believe it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
So our listeners will hopefully understand why it's called this, but we should maybe revisit it based on the tweets I've been getting since we wrote about this. The way Microsoft does version numbers for Windows 10, the first two digits are the year. The second two digits are when it RTMs or is finalized. So it should have been Windows 10 2003 because it's probably going to be deemed final in March. But can you imagine if they had named it Windows 10 2003? Because there is a Windows Server 2003.
Yeah, but is that really that confusing? Are we really?
That's pretty confusing. This name is confusing that they're giving it. That's 2004, but 2003 I think would have been way more confusing.
So the version number has to be a number, right?
It's
not just a...
Yeah.
So 20H1.
So 20H1.
Yeah, because that really I like, frankly, a lot better.
I know.
I do too.
So you know what? They give every Windows 10 feature updates at least 3 names, right? It's going to be called 20. It's going to be called 20H1 still. It's going to also be called 2004, and it's probably also going to be called something like the May 2020 update, right?
That's absolutely the case. And God, it's time to put a stop to this.
They don't. They stopped after the creators update. They stopped giving it cute names. Is that? Yeah, that's over.
Yeah, that's over.
And do we know if it's going to be a 1909 style minor update, or is it going to be a big feature update?
It's a regular update. Although there's not much in it, but it technically will not be delivered as a cumulative update. It'll be a regular update, we believe.
As 1909 was a cumulative.
Right. No, it will be, and that's the distinction, right? It is being delivered as a feature update, so it is potentially devastating. It doesn't have a lot of new features.
No.
But that's okay. I mean, I'm not. Yeah. I don't think anyone should complain about that.
I honestly, in your article, you refer to manganese. We've talked about that before as the code name. I think manganese is Windows 10 manganese.
No. Oh, yeah.
So sort of like Apple names.
Is that a cat?
We could use the code names.
Is that a cat type?
No, it's when they're using the periodic table of elements to get their code names now. So. The one that 20H1's code name is Vibranium because it was supposed to be Chromium, but they couldn't use Chromium for obvious reasons.
For obvious reasons.
So Vibranium. So here's what we don't know though. They're getting ready to start putting the fast ring insiders into testing the next update. But what we don't know is what is it that they're going to test. Because what they did this year was they made them test 20H1 for about a year. They made the fast ring start testing that in February, right? So I'm curious what the fast ring is going to test next. Are they going to test 20H2 or are they going to start testing 21H1?
I think the smart money is on 20H2.
You do?
Although, by the way, because I really feel like this was a one-off, and we've talked about this, this notion, and this is just a theory, but that 20H1, the reason they needed so much time was because this is the underpinnings of what's going to go into Windows 10X. There's some architectural changes in there because there's been nothing in the product to suggest it needed this kind of testing.
No.
That said, you're right, though. It's interesting if they jump forward to 21H1.
No.
The world has changed.
I know. So in their blog post yesterday, you can't tell which it's going to be. They just said the next version, and they had RS instead of MN. So that just is kind of a placeholder for whatever the next code name is. So we don't really know what they're going to be testing, but it's going to be very soon. They're warning people about the magic window basically now, right?
I will say, Mary Jo, kudos to you because you were on this very early, this notion that development of 20H1 was going to wind down, and I've without any particular information one way or the other myself, I'm thinking there's no way this is the case. I mean, there's nothing in it. I mean, what have we been testing? What's the point? And why on earth would they finalize it so far ahead of time? Well, they are absolutely doing that. I mean,
they are.
Last week, I guess it was, last week they released a build where they took the watermark off. This week they put the build into the slow ring. I mean, they're
winding down
the toilet. They're heading toward. Let's use something a little better than toilet. They're heading toward the finish line there.
They are. Yep. And so here's why that actually makes sense. They are now aligned with the schedule of the Azure engineering team. So the Azure engineering team tries to finalize their stuff in December and June, right? So they're all rushing to get their stuff done so they can take most of December off, like many teams at Microsoft try to do. And their goal is, let's get this done, right? Let's finish it. But they're not going to release it. That's the thing. They're going to finish it in December and keep patching it through January and February and possibly finalize it in March. Yeah, it's perfect.
I mean, that's good.
Yeah. It is.
This release will get an ample amount of testing, which has possibly not been the case for many of the previous Windows 10 releases.
Yeah. Yep.
Is it possible, just a thought here, that we're too obsessed with this whole issue?
No, Leo, it's not. Do you have any other questions?
I mean, honestly, I don't hear, I go to the grocery store. I don't hear people at the, in the fruit aisle talking about, well, what do you think about the next 20H1? Is that,
Yeah. Leo, this is our bed and we're laying in it.
Yeah. You made it.
Well,
might as well lie in it.
Yeah, I can bounce a quarter off this thing now. I don't know. I mean, that question could be asked of the version number 2, right? So,
yeah. I mean, does it really
consumer,
mean anything in the long run?
No. It means, but doesn't it mean everything in the long run? I don't know.
Does it?
You're like medieval scholars debating how many angels can dance on the head of a pin.
Right.
No, I don't mean to diminish it. In fact, if you're going to listen to a podcast about Windows, this is kind of the things you're interested in, you care about.
Well, I will say, yeah. So it is fascinating to me, and this is true whether or not I agree with the way things went at a particular time or not. The way that the Windows has been developed over time has really changed. And what Mary Jo just raised was this interesting possibility that this new system we have could be literally a new way of doing things, where they start testing the year out release well ahead of what they would have done normally. It gives us additional time of literal testing, and then there's additional time at the end of further patching, which makes it even more reliable. And then you have this 2-release system, which, again, I disagree with, but you get this major release in the spring, relatively speaking, and then a minor release in the fall. That is that thing that is supported longer, which, again, there's people don't believe maybe they're doing that, but it's interesting to me, because there are so many different ways that Microsoft has gone from developing the product Windows and then delivering it to customers. It's fascinating how it keeps changing to me.
I know. It is. I'm just curious why they won't say if this is the new normal. Is it because they don't know? Because it might not be the new normal, or it might, it might be happening sometimes that the second half is a cumulative update. They just won't say, though. I ask all the time. I'm like, so is this the new way things are going to happen? And they're like, we're not talking about that. Okay.
Yeah, we've complained a lot about the communication here, but there's 2 levels of communication. There's the corporate side, which is what you're really talking about, which is, Microsoft or Windows as an organization. What's your plan for the future? And they may not want to say, because, like you said, they're playing it as it comes, and maybe things do change. And then there's just the kind of the enthusiast communication that occurs through the Insider program, which has been hit or miss for sure. But to defend the Insider guys, I will say, they can only go based on what they're told as well, and maybe what they're told they can say. We don't really know the full story there. So, yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty, and I think for people like Mary Jo and I, and certainly for people who listen to the podcast or are Windows enthusiasts, we're not looking for uncertainty, right? I mean, we would like to know what's going on. It's a reasonable request.
I just wonder if the reason is they did this one time. Now they've collapsed the skip ahead and fast ring, so there's no more skip ahead ring, and they're like, okay, now do we make the fast ring only test the bigger update until the very end or not? And they're kind of going back and forth about it. I don't know.
Right. I don't mind that stuff changes. I think it's right to change something. You have experience, and something didn't go the way you wanted. You wanted to go a little differently, so you change things up. That's fine. Yeah. The issue, again, and this is what Mary Jo said earlier, was simply they don't say. They may know, they may not know. We don't know because they won't tell us.
I mean, and for them to say to us, we don't know, that would be an okay answer, right? Like, we'd be like, okay, you don't know. That's all right. Good.
I would love to hear something from them like, look, we're going to evaluate it based on feedback. And if enough customers come to us and say, this thing we did in 2019 really worked, maybe we should do this all the time going forward, and then we'll change it. That would be wonderful, because I think that is what they would hear.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to go to them and say, oh, no, please.
No, I want 2 giant updates a year.
Yeah. I'm trying to imagine that conversation.
Yeah. I think part of why they won't say 2 might be because they don't want to admit what they are doing and what they have been doing is backtracking, right? Like when they moved from 18 months of support to pushed it out to 30, they don't want it to be oh, Microsoft's admitting what they did failed and they're fixing it. They don't want that to be the story. They want it to be, we're listening to customer feedback and kind of gradually undo some of the policies that they did at the beginning, right?
And I don't know why I keep doing this, but to defend Microsoft, I guess I would also add that if you take their desire to service Windows as if it were an online service at face value, that the idea here is that you get a Windows computer, it silently in the background starts downloading and installing updates, and maybe you have to reboot once a month or whatever to make sure your machine is up to date and you're safe, that you don't really notice as a user anything major happening, right? That this is a fairly seamless process. It's not as good as a real online service. You can't just refresh a web page or something. But we're working with what we have. I mean, that's the goal. Maybe they don't want to highlight this too much because really, who cares how the sausage is made? The idea should be for people just to get this thing and it works.
Right.
That has never been the case.
Only we care. We care how the sausage is made.
I do care how the sausage. I would like to make the sausage. I like to. I like to be in the room.
I'd like to help make it.
Yeah. Could I have some of the raw sausage? Does that help? I don't know.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah, but the biggest thing I think, or one of the biggest things in this new update, is the Windows Subsystem for Linux 2. Like one person said to me on Twitter yesterday, why don't they just call this a WSL2 release? I'm like, you know what? They kind of could. Because
so what's new in this?
Release that separately, though.
Is this the Microsoft kernel now? They're doing the.
It's a Microsoft kernel built into Windows 10.
So that's the big change.
Yep.
If Windows, look, Windows can never really be a service, but if you want to move it closer to that model, WSL is something that should be updated outside of the Windows support chain. Like it should be something. It's like an app.
How does it get updated now? That's what I don't know. And will that change with WSL2? Because once they start building the Linux kernel into Windows 10, which is what will happen with
it'll be a system update, right? It won't be a store update.
I would think.
The Linux you install on top of WS1 is, of course, from the store, but that's really just, I think, just the app.
The subsystem itself is it's a system component.
Right.
It's updated with Windows. It's part of Windows.
Yeah. I would expect that. That's kind of, actually, it's funny because Google's moving the opposite direction with Android. They're moving as much as they can out of system updates.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of my point. Yeah, it seems like, we learned this lesson with Edge. It's not a good thing for something that needs to be updated.
Yeah.
To have it be tied to a twice-a-year schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. But maybe just the kernel is, but not the surrounding rest of it. Yeah. All the other components. Yeah.
Yep.
That'll be interesting to see. Otherwise, though, there isn't a whole heck of a lot. We talked about last week, just some kind of more minor UI changes. There's nothing that you go, okay, I can't wait to get 20H1, right? Unless you're a Linux person, then maybe you
now with 13% more fluid or whatever.
Yeah.
Or is it fluent or whatever, whichever one it is.
Fluid or fluent or both. Yeah. Yeah.
It's fluid, right?
Sounds like an intestinal condition.
It doesn't sound good. Yeah. Now with more fluid.
Especially during the holidays. It's terrible.
Okay. Do you want to move on, or have we thoroughly?
I'd like to offer a brief analysis of how Windows development has changed with every version of Windows 10.
No.
Okay.
So if you go back to 2015.
We've got plenty of time for that.
To talk about so many things.
I think the next item on our list is very interesting, especially given what we said last week on Windows Weekly.
This is an explosion of news.
Directly addressing my deepest concerns and desires.
I know.
And
so last week we said on the show.
Let's take a break.
Okay. I just think it's so funny that we brought this up last week.
All I've done is really guarantee people will fast forward through this commercial because they're dying to know what you want to talk about. But don't, because
imagine their coming disappointments.
It's really not that good. So don't. Actually, this is something everybody should know about. I really like to pat Epson on the back for doing this because so many printer companies, they make their money not on the printer. The printer's like a throwaway. And they make their money on the ink cartridges after the fact, right? Epson's EcoTank printers come with a ridiculous amount of ink in the box. You can print thousands and thousands of pages before you go back to the store. When you buy another set of ink, it's going to last another couple of years. This is a great holiday season gift for you because with these supersized, easy-to-fill tanks, you'll never have to worry about buying or changing ink cartridges again. So you can go ahead and print those wish lists and the letters to Santa and the holiday cards in beautiful color and still have plenty of ink left for 2020 and beyond. It really is a revolution. It's changing the way people think about printing. Less frustration, more time to treat yourself and others to something nice. So when you're thinking about the perfect holiday gift for you and people you like, and maybe your office too, add the Epson EcoTank printer to your holiday shopping list so you can just fill and chill like Shaq does. You could check out the EcoTank printers, and there's a whole line of these printers, all in one. Wonderful printers. I have two. I like them so much. They're at Best Buy. They're at Staples, Walmart, Target. You can do it online too. Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. Actually, go there first because then you can see, you can kind of decide which model you want. All of them come with those big tanks and beautiful color printing. Transform the way your home and office prints and do away with out-of-ink frustration. Epson. Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. EPSON. Epson's been with us since the beginning of the personal computer revolution. I remember my first Epson dot matrix, right? The Epson Mx 80. Remember that? We come a long way, baby. EcoTank printers. Just fill and chill. Epson. Exceed your vision. All right.
Okay, wait.
I had that Epson.
The MX-80, of course you did. Everybody did. And the wide carriage one, the 1.8.
And everything was compatible with it, right? Like if your driver didn't work, you would just use the Epson.
Because you had a
MX-80.
Centronics, that parallel thing, but you had to connect it and it had to have a port.
With the
but
clips
everything did. Yeah, the clips, it would clip in. And you'd have to buy tractor feed paper.
Yep.
Yep. Burst and decolate. You'll still see those at things like at airport gates.
Oh, I do that sometimes in restaurants when the service is slow.
You burst and decolate.
Guys, before we move on, we
yes.
just got an answer about the 19H2 thing.
It's in.
Being forever or not.
Yes.
There's an answer. WZOR on Twitter, Zor. He's pointing to an FAQ. Will we see the cycle for this happen every year? Major update in H1, minor in H2, one cumulative update for both? Here's Microsoft's answer. Delivering the 19H2 feature update via cumulative updates and an enablement package is a pilot program. There is no formal plan in place to deliver future releases this way, but we are closely monitoring feedback to hope to learn from this type of release to influence our future plans. There it is.
So it's actually what I asked for.
I know, right? So it's like, yeah, good. They're taking it under consideration. Right. That's the answer. There we go.
So that's a reasonable answer to that question.
That is. It is. Yep.
Where was this fact?
He gave us this FAQ, and maybe from a recent Windows Insider podcast. Yep. It was from the most recent Windows Insider podcast. Rick Podrick points out.
No wonder no one knew anything about it. So
burn.
Burn. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we know that. It's something that was a pilot. They may continue it. They may not.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words,
I can accept that.
There's no answer.
Me too. Was it that hard to give us that answer? No.
Well,
they put it somewhere you'd not be likely to see it.
It's not supposed to be like a game of hide and seek. Just put it out, somewhere where people will see it.
Yep.
Click, do a Twitter poll. Would you like to see this continue?
Yep. And they know what the answer would be on that.
What? People hate it?
99% yes, and maybe
everybody loves
1% no.
They want
everybody loves it.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it because it's less disruptive for updating.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we've flattened that one. That was not what we asked you to stay tuned for, though. There's even more exciting news.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So last week on Windows Weekly, we were bemoaning the fact that we've heard nothing from Microsoft lately about PWAs. It seemed like it was super exciting that they were all in on it, and then there just was nothing.
I'm secretly believing that my support of PWAs is what killed it.
Is that it?
Yeah, because if anytime I love technology too much, it dies.
And me too.
Windows
I loved
Phone,
it too.
Amiga,
I'm so excited by it.
I'm the killer of things.
So
but no, this week you've been the unveiler of things.
The unveiler of things.
There's good news.
Yeah. So let me just rifle through these real quick, and then we can kind of go back and go through it a little more deeply, because it was really interesting to watch this kind of happen in real time. I saw a report that on Twitter, someone on Twitter said, "Hey, I'm getting this prompt in Outlook.com that's letting me configure a Gmail account." Now, don't confuse this with you can go in and forward your Gmail to Outlook.com. It's literally you have an Outlook.com account and you have a Gmail account. And you can switch between them. Like you can send and receive mail, Gmail, using the Outlook.com account. It even integrates with the calendar, Google Calendar, Contacts, and Google Drive. Interesting. Now, I'm not seeing it. In fact, I'm still not seeing it. But that flipped a switch in my brain, because I have been saying for a while now, if Microsoft could just turn Outlook.com into a PWA, that wonderful web application could replace the terrible mail application that's built into Windows 10.
Yeah.
To which people retort very logically, well, that's not possible, Paul, because Outlook.com, the website, the web app, is only for Outlook.com email. There's no way to configure multiple accounts.
Oh, but now there is.
Yeah. My reply to that has been, but that's an arbitrary design. They could design Outlook.com so that it could connect to other accounts. Yep. And now it looks like they're testing it. Okay, so
yes.
Neat. But then in very rapid succession, I got an email from someone who said, "Hey, I'm using Outlook on the web. This is the Office 365 commercial version of Outlook.com. And I'm using Brave, that web browser you guys were talking about last week. And I just got an install prompt in the address bar. And that install prompt only appears when you have a PWA.
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's really interesting.
That's what that means. Yeah.
So I looked at it in the Edge beta, and I did not see the install button, but that's because I'm running the beta. If I was running Canary, I would have seen it. And it's coming, obviously it's coming. It's there. It is there. It's just that the beta version can't see it, or it doesn't work properly. And then of course now I'm looking at Outlook.com. Is Outlook.com going to switch over? Sure enough, you also now get, it was a day later, I think this prompt now appears also in Outlook.com. So Microsoft is turning these things into PWAs. Now, there are no special PWA features like offline use or whatever, but they've done
is it really a PWA if you can't use it offline?
That's got to be coming, though, right?
Yeah, that's got to be. Because
you would think.
Yeah, I mean otherwise, it's just a window to a website.
Yeah.
Yes. Right, of course. But the point is they've done the work to do that. So now that the manifest is there, now that they have the basics, what I would call the minimum to qualify as a PWA, all those other things are possible. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, the point is they're doing it. Like after years, months of silence, certainly. And then there was a Microsoft. How did this one? Oh no! So someone in the Microsoft tech community, which is like an online forum, said, "Hey," and God knows how people find these things, but he's like screwing around with the flags and the Canary version of Edge, and he's like, "I found this flag that appears to make some changes with the way PWAs work." And a Microsoft engineer actually replied to him, apologized for not documenting it yet because he said we're a little bit behind, but he says, "Yeah, we're actually making changes to the way this thing works."
Would you now? The chat room is saying, "What is a PWA?" Perhaps we've launched into this without explaining. We've talked about it quite a bit, but not everybody. Yeah. Partly confusing, also because of WP. UWP, PWA, PTA.
Yep. Guys, what's the tech podcast? We're going to use acronyms. So PWA is a progressive web app.
Using web technologies like JavaScript.
Ultimately. Yeah. That has there's basically a standard by which this website can appear to look like and work like a native app on platforms that support it. Android and Windows 10 natively support PWAs. You typically acquire them through a browser. There'll be some kind of an install experience like the one I just described. Microsoft has added the capability to install them through the Microsoft Store. So the Twitter app in the Windows Store, the Microsoft Store, is actually a PWA. Google has said that they will do so for Android as well. Samsung supports them in its own browser and on its phones. Apple is going down that path a little more slowly because obviously Apple has a big foot in the the native app experience on iOS especially, but also on the Mac. But you could run Chrome on the Mac or the new Edge on the Mac and get these PWAs as well. So it's and then there's a list of native experiences that you can add. So the two big ones in my mind are offline use, which, for an email app is somewhat important. I mean, obviously when you're sending and receiving emails, you're online typically. For an app like Twitter, it's same thing. You pretty much want to be online to use it. But you can imagine you can make a PWA of anything. It could be a task app. It could be a game. It could be whatever.
Twitter, in fact, is the PWA most people are familiar with because they've been doing that for a long time. In fact,
and you might not even realize that's what it is.
Right.
Right. Like the Office app, when you go to office.com and you can see your most recent files, that's a PWA also. The new Microsoft Office app.
The one that's in the store, the Windows 10 app.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right.
So when I'm on Twitter.com, I should be able to install it. There should be a menu item that says install.
If you don't see it, go to mobile.twitter.com.
Oh, okay.
So, but the other main one that I can think of, the other important thing is native notifications. So in other words, web apps like websites can pop up notifications, but they're browser notifications. They're whatever the browser you're using. You could do something really screwy, by the way, if you wanted to. I've done this. I mean, you could have Chrome, you could have the new Edge, you could have Brave. You could go to the same website on all three of them, install that thing as an app, and then have three different versions of the app. They should all look identical, but they're running on a different back end, right? The different browser. So the thing Microsoft's doing in Windows 10 in some future release is they're going to enable more low-level. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say the other thing. The other feature I think that's important is native notification. So if you have like Outlook.com as a PWA and you have a new email, the notification that will pop up will be a Windows 10 notification on Windows 10, right? It won't be in like a browser notification. It will look just like and work just like every other notification that you get natively. So it's like, for all intents and purposes, this thing is a native app.
So this is so I just did that in Brave. I went to mobile.twitter.com. I got the little install thing in Brave. It shows up in the URL bar. And this is it. And so this is a standalone application that is Twitter. I mean, but
it's write once, run everywhere, or write once, run everywhere, whatever the term was.
I mean, how is this different than just a frame into Twitter in the browser?
Yeah. So for Twitter, it's probably not that different. But you have to understand the benefit of this for Twitter and also for users, but is they only have to do this thing once, right? The world of just a few years ago was you needed a different team or a different set of people making a Windows app, a Mac app, a Linux app if you did it, an Android app, an iOS app. One of the nice things about PWAs is that you can write that app once and it's going to work everywhere. Yeah. It's the same app. You don't write little... There will eventually be things for certain native features because there will be native features that only work or make sense on Windows that maybe you don't support on other platforms or whatever, like jump list. But for the most part, it's not about, if-then blocks. Like if it's on iOS, do this. If it's on, you don't have to worry about that stuff. It's just, it's a web app. It will work and look and be the same everywhere. Yeah. And there are huge benefits to that.
Yeah.
Also, just from a deployment perspective or like an updating perspective, and this benefits the users. If they discover a problem and they update that thing, it's not, you don't have to uninstall a version, reinstall, or install an update, or go through, this is happening for you in the background. You don't have to worry about it.
So what would be the difference between an Outlook.com PWA and an Outlook for the web PWA?
Nothing. It's just the audience they're targeting. So the
functionality is the same.
Well, basically. I mean, there probably are differences because Outlook on the web is for commercial customers, and there'll be business features built into that you won't see in Outlook.com.
Right. But that would, so in other words, at some point, we might have the entire Office suite as
this has been the
dream. That was the rumor, right? Wasn't that the rumor a year ago? They were going to turn everything in the Office into a PWA.
So the thing, you're right. So remember, they for a while they worked on these mobile apps, the ones you could get in the store, and they were kind of offshoots of the work that Microsoft had done previously to bring mobile Office first to Windows Phone, and then of course there's iOS and Android versions as well. And so you could run that thing on full Windows. It was a subset of the full capability of the main apps, as it would be. But the problem, I think, was that the underlying technology that was available to those apps was not powerful enough to, for this to make a ton of sense. Plus, the phone thing failed. I think that played a role in that.
And they put those apps in maintenance mode basically now, right? Like they're not doing anything with those anymore.
Right. So a web app version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and whatever other apps, OneNote, whatever, is probably good enough for most users.
So I just went to office.com, opened Outlook, and I'm getting an install button.
Yeah, in Brave you will. Yep.
So it is now a PWA officially.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
but not in the new Edge, right? Like you're not seeing that yet.
If you're in Canary, you will see it. You don't see it in beta.
So Chrome and Brave, you would see it. I don't know about Safari, but in other words, that's more an issue of browser capabilities than what Microsoft has done. They've made this a PWA now. This is
It's the basic PWA, right? Like I said, it doesn't support any special features. It's just meeting the minimums. But that's okay because that's the step. Now we know they're doing it. So eventually we'll probably see these additional capabilities added. So let me see. So the integration features, just so we know. So in the future version of Windows 10, using Microsoft Edge, they're going to allow these things to integrate with the operating system at a deeper level. So there's going to be a difference between who knows if they'll bring us back to Chromium, but maybe they will. I shouldn't say for sure, but it's possible there'll be a difference if you install a PWA with Edge on Windows 10 because it can integrate with the OS, or it does integrate with the OS at a deeper level. They want those apps to be to kind of appear in Task Manager as the app, not as Edge, right? You want to have unique jump lists. You want to have badges. You want to have all these kind of OS capabilities. So they're working on that. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And then on top of, let's see, where are we on this giant list of things that just happened? And then there's the thing. And so Mary Jo has this other story about
Enlightened.
And this is tied to the 10X stuff, right? That's when they talked about the 10X developer story.
Yeah, so this week, Microsoft said in a blog post, we're putting out a call to developers who want to be early adopters of technology that we're building to make dual screen devices like Surface Duo and Surface Neo possible. And they gave some very general guidelines. They said, we want to make it so your existing apps keep working even on these dual screen devices with the hinge, but we're going to do a lot more, right? Like we're going to build a whole new common model that's layered on top of the platform that uses specific tools and frameworks. They didn't say anything really in depth about what that was, but they said, if you want to learn more, you can apply to be in the early adopter program as a developer. But then I found through the Walking Cat a link to a Microsoft presentation at BlinkOn 11, which is a web conference that happened in mid-November. And in that presentation, they talked in great depth about what they're doing to enable developers on this platform, or what they want to do, I should say. And one of the things that is key to their strategy for building apps for Duo and Neo is PWAs. That's like called right out in the presentation. Like we see the web as the go-to platform for dual screen devices, and
here's why, by the way.
Why?
Just real quick, just so people understand.
Yeah.
Android and Windows are two different platforms.
Right.
So if you want to have the same app on both, that's right. The only way you're going to be able to do it with one app is to use a PWA. Otherwise, you're going to have to create a native app for Android, a native app for for Windows. You might use UWP on this side. You might use whatever you use for Android. They're going to be completely different apps.
Yep.
So this is, if they can get this support for dual screens into the platform PWA, that will work everywhere too.
Yep. And they've already got on GitHub, I've got a link to it in my story, a whole bunch of proposed APIs that they want to add for foldable devices. And it goes in great detail about how they're thinking about this, and they're asking for community feedback. So they're pretty well on the way to offering a solution to developers about building for dual screens, which they should be at this point since they're going to be out next holiday, right? And they also said more details. We'll give everyone more details about what we're doing on this front in the spring of 2020. So that's build, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, so that was kind of an interesting coincidence. As you were finding out about all these PWA things happening in Outlook, the various versions of Outlook, then I saw this, and I'm like, oh, here's another part of the PWA story that's coming to fruition very quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So it's all, it's funny. We went from despair last week to this
because I hadn't heard
rapid-fire
anything.
succession of news.
I know.
And it's interesting because this time of year, it typically it's not very busy with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I will say, I joked about this earlier today, but, Microsoft, a company that earns $11 billion a quarter in revenue, has finally updated a text-based manifest file so they can call their web apps PWAs. But, whatever, we'll take it. There's obviously more
easy?
Yeah, it is literally that easy. It is.
They have their own tool, right?
But yeah, they have a tool.
But they can just push a button.
Maybe they use a wizard to do it. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's like super easy.
Right.
You basically just have to add a correctly formatted manifest file to your website.
Yeah. But part of this is happening because Microsoft has made all of these Office apps web apps, right?
Yes.
So they've taken the hard step already.
Yeah. Right.
So this must have been kind of part of the vision, I would guess. You know who it helps, though? It helps Google.
Yeah, it helps everybody, right? Not just Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
Yes.
Google, so you have a Chromebook, you'll be able to run Office on a Chromebook. I mean, right now you can run it on the web, but you'll be able
that
to
helps
run it.
Microsoft, right? So in other words, look, obviously Microsoft owns Windows. They create platforms. They have their own hardware business that runs Windows for the most part. But I mean, job one for Microsoft really is to get its services everywhere.
Right.
They don't care. I mean, and this still kind of bugs people, I think. But if you decide you want to use a Mac, or use a Chromebook, or use an Android phone or iOS, whatever it is, I don't think they care. They want your business, but that doesn't mean they want your Windows business necessarily. I mean, they'd be happy to have it. Don't get me wrong. But what they really want is for you to be paying for Office 365 as a consumer.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just amazing.
Yeah, I know.
It's
so different from the old Microsoft.
Yeah,
it
such
is.
a change.
I know. Yep.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it was pretty cool though. Pretty cool discoveries for what should have been, like you said, a quiet week.
It's been by the way, it's also been a quiet year for PWA, right? I mean, we go to Build, we want to hear what they have to say. We went to Ignite. There was a little bit about PWAs. There's not really a lot of what I would call momentum going on here, at least not from the Microsoft side of things. And look, you can give a little bit of a pass. They're obviously switching out their browser infrastructure, moving to Chromium. The new Edge is coming down the pike. There's a lot of focus on that. But I mean, they have all these web properties that could be PWAs very easily, And obviously what I'd really like to see is the Office apps, the core apps, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, as PWAs with offline support. And so you could install that thing, use it like a full app, because it is, access local documents, use it offline, you're on a plane, whatever it is. That app would be fantastic. I like using that app. Right now it doesn't work the way I described. It's a web app. It works with web-based documents. You don't typically. It's ponderous to access local files, but
it is. Like, have you ever tried to do that? Like you use Word for the web, right? And you're trying to get a file that's on your desktop, and you're like, why is this so hard, right? There's so many steps.
You ever think about I run into this one a lot. Like, I have pictures that are in Google Photos. I would like to put those on Facebook or Instagram or something.
Yeah, that should be easier, shouldn't it?
Right. Why is that not? Why is there not a?
I know.
It's like an open dialogue that connects to services that I can go find my. Like, that's weird. But the thing we're describing here is kind of the flip side of that. It's the app runs in the cloud. I guess technically it runs on your PC because it's offline, whatever. But why can't there be a more seamless interaction with the local file system? It's like this weird. It's as ponderous as downloading an app or a file from the internet. It's
some of that's the OS. In Mac OS, you used to have a share to Facebook button and a share to Flickr button, and then their partnership crumbled, and so that's gone. But when that was there, you could be sitting on a web page, you could select a Google photo, and you could hit the share button on the Mac and share it directly to Facebook. But that's the Macintosh has to provide the pipes for that.
This is kind of like, I think it was probably Windows 95. Microsoft came out with common dialogues for file open, save as, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And we almost, we need that for what I'm describing, right? We need I agree. I don't know what you call it.
It's a framework for sharing that's common to everywhere.
Sharing is a tough word because it is ultimately sharing, but it's
cross-file.
As a user, I shouldn't have to worry about the technical distinction of where a file is. I shouldn't
be sharing because I should be able to put something in OneDrive and then move it to Google Drive and move.
I should be able to write a Google like a Google Docs document, save it to OneDrive, or whatever. Like there should be like a universal.
It's
plugin
doable. On the files. I'm looking at my Pop! OS Linux box.
Yeah.
And in the files thing, if you sign into those accounts, my Google Drive shows up as one of the in the file, the File Explorer as one of the things I can look at, and I can drag from a local to a folder.
And you can do that.
Yeah.
And I can do it with pCloud Drive, which is my cloud. I can do it to OneDrive. So as long as you're logged into those clouds, they become as part of the file system. You can do that on Windows, right? Or no?
Yeah, you can. OneDrive becomes your file system. Yeah.
But
just with OneDrive,
iCloud does it.
Can you do it with
any of those?
Can you add Google Drive to your Explorer on Windows?
Yes, I mean,
you can.
Google has an application for that. It's their client.
See, this is not with an application. This is probably there's some sort of network file sharing protocol going on. I would guess. I don't know. But once I've logged in the operating system to those,
do this.
Yeah. Once I've logged into the cloud, these various clouds in the operating system, they show up as, in effect, like a shared folder in the network.
That's exactly what I meant by the common file dialog thing. Right. The idea is that if you've made this connection at the system level, no app has to understand it. It just is. It's just there.
It's just there.
It's automatic.
Yeah. So is it the OS that has to do that? I guess it is.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Linux does it quite well, but of course Linux is kind of agnostic. It's so it doesn't have its own thing.
Well, Microsoft has embraced Linux. Maybe we could get some ideas here.
Yeah. You know what it doesn't do? It would be great though. Is if Facebook, Instagram, Flickr.
Here's why this has come up. So I use multiple phones because I'm an idiot, and I'll take a picture of something with one phone, and then later I'm on another phone. I'm like, I want to put that on. It's not here.
They're silos. That's why. They're silos.
So you have to download, go to Google Photos, hopefully it backed up, download it to the local storage, and then share it. That's stupid. That's these things. There's two things in the cloud. They should connect,
So this is a consumer version of a multi-homed cloud. And I honestly think that consumers now are in that situation. We all have Google accounts. Microsoft hopes we all have OneDrive accounts. We're in. This is the situation we're in.
Yep.
I'm sure the part of this is just protectionism, but from the perspective of like a Facebook, Twitter, whatever, they don't care about any of that stuff.
They want us to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you're right. It's probably the OS because
probably
yeah. I mean, when Apple
somewhere there's someone listening to this who is screaming at their
they're saying,
phone.
no, they don't understand how this works.
No, we don't.
And this already exists, and here's what it is, or whatever.
No, I don't think it does, because I've looked for it. And as I said, Linux does it, but they do it with cloud storage. Actually, I should look at what other accounts.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be a start, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about how OneDrive works today with files on demand, which is so awesome and unbelievable, just the ability to go and browse your entire file storage without that stuff having to be local.
I take it back.
Is neat.
Online account settings. This is GNOME on Pop! OS. I can have Facebook. I can have Flickr. I can have Pocket. I can have Foursquare. I can, of course, have Exchange and Microsoft. Nextcloud. I've signed up for Google. So
this is like, you mean in the file system?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good.
So once you log into those online accounts, now I'll sign up. I'll try the Flickr one because I do have a Flickr account. I don't have a Facebook account. But in theory, I guess I could then share to Flickr from the file system.
Yeah, you could run it'd be hard to do it with a cloud-based productivity app, but if you had like a local app, like a LibreOffice thing or something, you should be able to grab a photo from Flickr, grab some text document from some other cloud, and save it to a third cloud, and that should just all work without you having to worry about,
too hard. Yeah.
I'm playing with it.
That should be a normal thing for someone to be able to do.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Kind of got off on a weird tangent here, but
no, but I bet that's all. It's all related to how this is going to go, right? Because, like we said, the old days of Windows was protectionism, and the other vendors as well. And now consumers just don't accept that. They're like, no, your phone is a great example. Android phones working seamlessly with Windows, like. It's happening.
Right. What will make Microsoft services more acceptable to people who might otherwise not have done it is the fact that they will just work with everything.
Right.
You can't just require them to have, you're going to have the best experience if you run it on Windows. It's like, yeah, that's not.
That was the old line.
I want to have the best experience because I'm using your thing. That should be the answer to that.
Yeah. It used to be, it'll light up even better if you're all Windows.
Yeah,
and that used to be something people were like, okay. But now if you say that, people are like, no, nobody can be all Windows because you don't have a Windows phone, right? Like,
right. Exactly.
You're using something else.
So apparently what it does is it ties into Photos, but it does not tie into the file system. But now, because I'm signed into Flickr, it's tied to my Photos app. So my Flickr photos show up in the Photos app.
Right.
And the Photos app presumably can copy photos there, but it doesn't show up in. But that makes sense because if you saw a file dialog, what would it show you from Flickr? I guess it could show all the photos as file dialog.
Microsoft tried to do this with Windows Phone.
They did. I was just thinking that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
When they tried to have it. Yeah.
That might have been a little too early.
What did they call that?
The People Hub. Yeah,
People
connected
Hub,
with all of your social networks.
Yeah. They had a Pictures Hub, a Photos Hub, whatever. They had a Music and Video Hub.
And all the other vendors were like, no.
Yeah, that's the problem. Everybody wants to be siloed.
Yeah.
It's the problem we've always had. Everybody wants to silo.
Yep. Well, this has been a great little bit of nerdvana that will never happen, maybe.
It beats discussing H1, H2, 1903.
Leo, I could not disagree more. I have to say, still thinking about that.
There is a holy grail here, and this is the thing: is Paul and I are wide-eyed optimists, and we're Pollyannas.
We don't get enough credit for that. Everyone thinks I'm so negative, but the truth is,
but you have a dream.
But I'm not.
You have a dream.
Yeah, I am. But
one day
you are.
It'll all be together.
The butterfly is going to burst out of this awful-looking insect that I now am.
No, I think you guys are more optimistic about a lot of technology than I am. I'm more like, they're never going to do that.
You're practical. You realize no business is... Because everybody wants a lock-in. Everybody's gone for lock-in. Apple's all about lock-in. That's why they don't do the Facebook Flickr share anymore. No, you should do everything in our stuff.
Listen, nobody's been kicked in the ass more by Microsoft than I have, and I still keep coming back for more. It's like, it could get better.
Well, because we're users and we... want it to be the way users want it, and it's funny because you'd think companies want to super serve their customers, but that's a lie.
No, they don't.
They don't. They want to super serve their shareholders, their stakeholders.
Exactly.
And
but that's why. But it could still work, right? This is kind of the point. The new Microsoft has realized that the way they're going to engage with customers is to be open. And
it is the most encouraging thing of all about Microsoft. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. I think they're very more realistic and practical than they have been in the past.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's because they've been humbled.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, that's why.
When you are a monopoly like Apple today, I always said, when Microsoft was on top in the 90s, I said, the only reason Apple's, works with other people is because they have to.
Right.
But I even said this in like 95. If Apple had the dominance Microsoft does,
I said the same thing.
They'd be worse. And you know what?
Can you imagine what would the world be like?
They are.
Yeah.
We now know. The tables have turned.
Yep.
I much prefer a company that wants to work with everybody, that wants to be cross-platform. That's good for users.
Apple is actively working to eliminate every partner that it has.
Right.
It's doing everything it can to replace them with its own stuff. Oh, who on earth would want to partner with this company?
And frankly, that's the problem with PWA in the long run is it's really they're doing it, but I feel like their heart's not in it. And if
I know you don't hear about them as leaders in PWA,
they have service workers in Safari. They're doing it, but it's really Google and Microsoft that want to do it, and of course that's who's going to benefit.
Right. Please, Apple is having an event in December to celebrate app developers. I can assure you what they're not celebrating is apps that look and work the same everywhere.
They're not. We're not talking UWP here. I can promise you. Yeah.
Right.
No, they're not celebrating that. They're celebrating. Oh, look, this guy made an app just for our platform.
Just for us.
Yep.
Yeah. You always get more attention if you're exclusive to iOS. Of course.
Yep.
Oh well, that's the way it is in the world. And look what Microsoft's doing. They're supporting XFAT on Linux. I mean, it's just that's That's
crazy town.
That's when you need to compete. You do things like that, and that's fantastic.
Yep.
They're putting a Linux kernel in Windows. That's fantastic.
I know.
All right, stop rubbing it in, Leo. It's getting a little...
I know.
All right, let me take a break and talk about something you like, Paul. This is for you. Brave, the Brave browser. Paul and I are Brave fans, Brave users, longtime Brave user. Brave is a browser, a better browser, designed, built on Chrome, on the Chromium open source project, but they de-Googled it. They took all the privacy invasion stuff out, and they put in really useful tools. I always say, do you want to see all the stuff Brave does? And by the way, I'm always learning more about Brave. Go into the Brave settings and take a look at all of the things you can do, and you'll really get a sense. For instance, with Brave, you can block trackers. You can block ads which follow you across the web. You can upgrade all connections to HTTPS. That's HTTPS everywhere. If you want to block scripts, you can. You have total control over cookie blocking. I always turn this off. Allow Facebook logins and embedded posts. Those like buttons, you don't want those. Twitter embedded tweets, you don't want those. That gives Twitter and Facebook a window into what you're doing. But if you do like them, you can turn them on. I turn off Google and I turn on Start Page as my browser search. Brave also has some very cool things. So by turning all these trackers off, Brave gives you unmatched speed. Yeah, all that stuff is using up bandwidth. All those ads are using up bandwidth. And there are also security risks. Turning those off protects you. I've, of course, got Flash turned off. It's not going to run. But you control it, so you could turn it back on a specific site. There's even a site-by-site control. And your privacy is protected. All those trackers are blocked or turned off. And it's a better user experience. It makes me feel better. It's easy to set up, to import it. All your settings from any other browser is a snap. In fact, you can have both, Edge going and Brave, or Chrome going and Brave. A lot of people look at other browsers and they say, but I'm used to Chrome. I want the Chrome look. I like my Chrome extensions. Brave's for you. It looks just like Chrome. It feels just like Chrome. It works just like Chrome, except all the, googly stuff. And you can install Chrome extensions. Although I don't need to install nearly the number of extensions because Brave's already blocking ads. It's already blocking trackers. It's doing a lot of the things I install extensions for. I put in LastPass and pretty much I'm done. That means you're going to save battery life. You're going to reduce data costs. It's just a better user experience. Did I mention it's free? So there's really no reason not to have Brave. In fact, just put Brave on your system right now. Go to brave.com/twit. Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, and Android. It works everywhere you do. Put it on your system. You don't need to get rid of the other browser. But once in a while, just try using it. And I think you'll see how much faster Brave is. The thing I love about Brave is it shows you the benefit you're getting from Brave right on the blank tab thing. I have blocked 126,882 ads. I have upgraded 4,563 sites to HTTPS, and this is the number I care about. I have saved 1.8 hours by using Brave. You don't have to see that if you don't want, but I like knowing that's there. Brave is a better browser. Now, there's one thing I always worry about with ad blocking. You're hearing an ad right now. Ads are our bread and butter, and many of the sites you go to visit, like Paul's site and Mary Jo's site, the ads are what keep those sites going. They're free to use because of the banner ads there. So a lot of times, I hate to say it, but I feel guilty blocking those ads. Brave solves that problem because of basic attention tokens, BAT. What BAT tokens do is they allow you to reward content creators to give them their revenue back without seeing the ads you don't want to see. This fixes the web. It improves privacy, but it also gives publishers their fair share of web revenue. I think this is just brilliant. And I'm not surprised. It was Brendan Eich who created this. He was the guy who created JavaScript and Firefox, Brian Bondi. Also, they created something I think everybody ought to be using. Oh, and there's other things, too, that I always forget to mention. For instance, private window browsing on Chrome doesn't hide you from Google. Yeah, of course not. Private window browsing on any browser, all that does is say, well, don't save cookies or something. It's like minor. On Brave, there's a private window, and you can use Tor, and you can really be anonymous. Nobody, not Brave, not anybody knows who you are. That gives you even better anonymity. I want you to do it right now. It's free. There's no reason not to have it. Do me a favor, though. I know you could just go to brave.com. You know that. But please go to brave.com/twit. You're going to get the same experience, but that way they know you saw it on Windows Weekly, and that's really important to us. Brave.com/twit. I'm a big Brave fan. Been using it forever. Interviewed their security director, Bcrypt, on Triangulation some months ago. I was really pleased when they sent us a note not so long ago and said, hey, we want to buy ads. We want to get the word out. And I said, you're in. I love Brave. That's an easy one for me. Brave.com/twit. Their tagline yesterday was about big tech. Today is about us. Happy Brave user. Happy, Brave. Let's see what else. What else here? Cortana. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. Cortana.
No, you got it right the first time. Go with your instinct.
What's the latest?
You know, I feel like every week we talk about what's going on with her, and every week it's kind of the same thing. It's like they're kind of dismantling the way it's been working, and we're going to build this as a productivity assistant, which means it's going to be more deeply embedded in your applications instead of just a standalone separate thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's where they're going.
Literally.
Right.
That's right.
It is. Yeah. So the latest was Microsoft told insiders that they're going to be making changes to how Cortana works on Windows for the Windows insiders. And so they're doing a lot of things that are very productivity focused. You know, they're improving the email skill that lets you lets Cortana create and query emails. There's a new calendar skill. There's the skill where you can say to Windows, open Paint 3D, change the brightness, and it'll just work that way, being embedded into the operating system itself. I think this is good. They didn't succeed when they tried to make her something that competed with other personal digital assistants. So now that they're a productivity-centric company, they're making their digital assistant more productivity focused.
So I agree with what you said 100%. Except I have to point out that they have literally gutted the single most important feature of Cortana, and I am getting sick of this.
What's that?
Which one?
And that feature is its ability to tell jokes.
But they said that might come back.
They took that out?
Yep.
Oh.
They should take it out, but
yeah.
I mean, I think they hinted like some of the things they're taking out, they may come back in a different form at some point. Right.
I mean, this thing is scatting away every time I install Windows 10, but now when I want to hear it say something, I can't get it.
They were kind of dad jokes, though. I mean,
they were.
That's my favorite kind of joke, Leo.
I'm surprised.
That's all I got.
That's all you got.
Yeah.
It's my entire repertoire.
What I do like about what's happening now, though, with this is for a year or more, they kept saying to us, you know, we're morphing her from a regular digital assistant to a productivity-focused digital aid. And we never knew what that meant, right? They just were very vague. Like, yeah, that's where we're going with this. Now we see what that means.
What does it mean?
It means they're embedding it into their apps in the operating system.
Yeah, so in other words, the Cortana app, which will be in Windows 10, which is really in the store or whatever, is now picking up all these productivity features. On mobile, they're getting rid of the standalone apps, and they're putting Cortana features inside their productivity apps. Yeah. So it's kind of there where you would need it, I guess, is maybe the way to think of it. They lose some things. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, unfortunately, because Cortana is not the core experience on any mobile platform, it's, you know, there's a bunch of people still who used Windows phones and maybe still do or whatever that miss, you know, the ability to read text messages and things. I mean, like there's these Cortana features from the past that people still miss, but. Yeah, she's right. I mean, they evolved this thing, and now they're kind of. We're starting to see what it meant.
They tore it down to build it back up.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. If you have to let it go, because if it doesn't come back, it wasn't meant to be.
Right. So, if you love her, let her go.
Free, set her free. The Cortana story.
Yeah. The Cortana story.
This thing was onto something.
She was. That guy. It stings.
The Nostradamus of our age.
The Scion.
The Scion.
Scion.
So
Scion of tech predictions.
So it's not goodbye, it's merely farewell.
It's more.
That's pretty much. But
It's more hello in a new guise. How's that?
Wow. I just learned.
No, I think they're doing the right thing. I do. Like when I first heard, at first I thought they were just going to kill it off completely. And another one of their consumer things that failed, and they are just like, yeah, we're done. But instead, they're trying to find the silver lining and how it fits into what they do have, which is productivity apps, and going from there.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
And I still think that there's a core competency at Microsoft around productivity and around also just the AI ML stuff and their ability to surface these things for, their core customer base is real. I mean, it's, we'll see how it looks and how it works and everything. But I mean, it does kind of make sense in the context of what Cortana was and what it should be, or what it could be, and it's maybe not what everyone wants, but. Yeah. I assume we're getting a little used to that, guys. The consumer stuff isn't working out.
Well, honestly, if Cortana were what everybody wanted, they wouldn't have to do this.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
This is really in response to the fact that Cortana is not what anybody wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called making lemonade.
Right.
It is. Yeah.
I think there's a place for it.
Me too.
This is such early days on voice assistants. This is not. Yeah. We're not even close to the end game here. So that would be the time, frankly, to say, well, let's take a look at the navigation and see where we're headed and where we should be. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Plus, they must have data on just how people have used voice control and
they know
how they haven't. And a lot of the stuff that they spend a lot of time on and money on probably is not being used a lot.
Right. I think precisely the problem.
Yep.
So there you go. Not time to forget for.
It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. So there are some things we are very excited about in the new version of Windows, including the new terminal. I like the new terminal. If you're a PowerShell user or you're using WSL, you'll like it.
Right.
They're enhancing that a little bit. Is this 2004?
I think it's still
a separate app,
store
right?
app. Yeah,
Isn't
it's a
it?
separate.
Okay. So they're just updating.
I would assume it does get added to Windows at some point. It should be in Windows. I don't see why they would keep the old things and not just use this instead.
Yeah, it really should be, right? I think. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm going to give you a little plug. Later this week or early next week, I have a little interview that I did with Rich Turner at Microsoft all about Windows Terminal, and it's going to be on Petri.com.
Nice.
He talked about
just ruin the surprise. Rich has a English accent, so prepare yourself for that because it's weird.
Yes, he does.
He was on the show. We've had him on.
We've had him on before on Windows Weekly. Yeah, we have. Yeah. So he was very.
You interact with him on Twitter and.
I know.
You don't know. He seems like just a normal guy. Instead, he's
you never know with these
weirdo.
Guys. Some of them have accents. It's weird.
He started out doing WSL, like that was one of his pet projects. Then he went on to do Windows Terminal, and he said to me at the end, "And now I'm on to something else, but I can't tell you what it is."
Oh,
I'm like,
ooh, but something else open source.
Notepad 2.0, baby.
That's what I said. I'm like, Notepad. He goes, Mary Jo.
Now with translucency.
No, Paul, don't give them any bad ideas.
He came from open source, as I remember.
Well, he used to work at Microsoft, and then he left. I forget where he went to work, but he worked out in the industry. And he says on the conversation I had with him, one day I was so mad about how terrible the Windows command line was and how it wasn't evolving that I sent a flame mail to Microsoft. And I just was like, what are you guys doing? And he said they called me in to talk to me, and I ended up taking a job on that team and coming back to work at Microsoft.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. So, yep. So there's a lot happening.
He doesn't get his anger up over a Notepad anytime soon.
He worked at HBO.
You'll be using them in a year.
Yeah, HBO. That's right.
HBO and Dapuri.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. And then Microsoft, 10 years at Microsoft, and they left in 2010 and then came back a few years later. Huh.
Yeah. So lots going on with Terminal for Terminal fans. And it seems like there are a lot of people who love the new Windows Terminal. It's getting a lot of...
Oh, yeah. And by the way, Rich is awesome. When is this interview, or where's this going to appear?
I already did it. I did it on Monday, so it should be on Petri by either Friday or next Monday, I would guess.
Do you think he's going back to PowerShell and doing PowerShell? What is it for?
He wouldn't say. He's like, I really can't talk about it.
It sounds like it's something different.
Yeah. I know. Yep. Yep. What else do we need, Leo? That's something open source developers want that Windows could somehow provide, or Microsoft.
Why would you ask him this question? This answer is going to be amazing.
No, actually, I'm racking my brain.
Let's.
So they already have Miguel de Icaza, so they've already got all the .NET Xamarin cross-platform stuff.
Yep.
They're pretty well stocked in the open source.
I know
arena.
they are now, right? Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out and try to find out before he
it's gonna be
wants
like
us
a package manager or something crazy.
Well, they have a package manager.
They have that MSIX.
Well, and you choose the package. Oh, they don't have a Windows package manager.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, that would be. I mean, they kind of do. There's an enterprise. I can't remember. We use it. I can't remember what the name of it is, but. That's really handy because it lets you prevent people from installing stuff.
I mean, MSIX is the package management format, right?
Yeah.
MSI.
How do you? Yeah. The thing that prevents, is it like App Locker or something?
App Locker. Thank you. That's it. Yeah. So App Locker is kind of a package manager, but and when you install WSL, you choose the Linux, and then you get the package manager. If you choose Debian, you get apt, or you get the package manager that comes with that. I don't know. It's pretty well represented. I mean, this is interesting. Yeah,
I know. Stay tuned, I guess. Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to be fluent everywhere.
Would be good. Fluid
framework.
You got your Fluent everywhere.
They're already doing Fluid framework on the side. That to me isn't as exciting as it first appeared. Maybe I just don't understand it that well, but I feel like it's fast co-authoring.
Now, I thought we had this story already. It says Windows 1903 and 9 will be blocked if you have old AV. That was an old story.
Well, they just added this to their support documentation. Apparently, there's some old versions of what's the antivirus? This particular antivirus is basically like the workaround. Literally is update. So it's like
update this antivirus.
Yeah, Avast and AVG. So
all of them will work if you update them.
Yeah. This is, I think the thing you might have been thinking of is there was a version of Windows 10, and maybe a couple of versions ago, where they changed the infrastructure for how that stuff integrates with the OS, and some of the companies, including Kaspersky, complained and charged Microsoft was, literally, and actually Microsoft admitted they were doing this. They were actually turning off AV on an upgrade to a new version of Windows 10 and replacing it with the thing that comes in Windows 10.
Yeah.
Well,
and you can see why that would be a problem.
No, there was a showstopper with, I want to say 1903, with some of the antiviruses, but that's not what this. Well, maybe it is what this is. I don't know. So Lucy and the Reindeer.
Yep.
Yesterday we talked about but didn't dare show the Apple Christmas ad because Apple is so copyright crazy that if we show the ad, the whole show gets pulled down, even though we're giving them free ad time.
Yeah, you don't want to promote Apple. My God.
So I'm going to play the video of Lucy and the Reindeer, but I'm not going to play the audio because there's probably music in it. But you don't need the audio. It's a little pantomime. She's got a Surface Pro. She's got a stuffed animal. She's got mucklucks. She's running out in the snow in her mucklucks to meet.
Now this looks incredibly dangerous to me.
A scary reindeer,
it does.
like a 53-point reindeer.
You know that commercial where there's like a serial killer and the kids are all like, "We should hide next to all those chainsaws."
Yeah, this is
the guy kind of rolls his eyes.
But wait, they're talking reindeer. She's talking to the reindeer. I guess we could hear that.
What's a sleigh made out of? It seems pretty heavy. Is Mrs. Claus a good cook? Do you guys get presents?
Oh, she's not taking a picture. Oh,
no, she's using the Skype translate feature.
That's semi-cute.
Yeah, she was using the automatic translation built in to Skype.
In the extended version, they toss her around like a rag doll, and then they play soccer with.
Yeah, it's cute.
No, you don't have to use Skype. There's a Bing translator, which is fantastic. And
Bing
I actually use that it's better than Google Translate. I use that on my phone all the time. I don't know if they don't specifically say what she's doing when she's...
No, at the beginning...
What does Santa do in the summer? Is Mrs. Claus a good cook?
Well, she witnessed her father having a conference call with some Japanese businessmen.
Maybe it is Skype.
Yeah.
Maybe it is Skype.
Yeah.
So she says,
I think it
I
was her
could
mom
use this
talking to
talk.
somebody. Yeah. And
Okay.
the other person was speaking Japanese or something. Yeah.
Okay. I skipped that part for fear of getting taken down.
Yeah.
I think
And the
Microsoft
last line
would
is something like, doesn't speak reindeer yet.
60 plus languages, doesn't speak reindeer yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the Babelfish.
Actually, there is a Babelfish-like device, a little earpiece that does this now. I think we are very close to simultaneous translation all the time.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I had it all prepared. I had
amazing.
downloaded Arabic, Hebrew, and Greek for my trip. Those are the 3 languages. But everybody's, you know what? It's really depressing. Yeah. Everybody speaks English.
Right.
I don't know
really?
why that's depressing, but it's changed travel. You know what? Almost everywhere you go now, English is a second language.
Pretty much.
This is the internet effect.
I guess. I mean, there's an Arab internet. There's plenty of foreign language internets, as anybody who's traveled knows, because your Google changes. But
Right. But so much of the web is in English.
I asked in Dubai. My guide was amazing. Her English she was colloquial American.
Yeah.
And I said,
we have this experience all the time.
Yeah. I said, you studied America? She said, no, I watched a lot of American TV.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
But in the school, they also teach English. I mean, so.
They'll always be very polite about this. You know, do you speak English? I speak a little bit of English. It's not very good.
I know.
Better than,
and then they
converse
in perfectly fluent English.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
So the Babelfish is going to get here, and then we're not going to need it.
I know.
Yeah.
Irony of ironies. Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? Surface PCs, if you've got one, stand back.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't even know why this is in the notes. This isn't much of a story.
No. It happened to me on the train today, though. I turned on my Surface Laptop 3, and all of a sudden it was like applying updates, and I was like, oh, man, it's all firmware updates, like a ton of them.
I actually like that. I want to see firmware updates. To me, that's a good sign. That means they're doing something. They're improving it somehow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Many of those may happen to other machines with Intel because Intel pushed out new firmware because of yet another speculative execution flaw. So at the very least, I mean, my Lenovo Linux laptop got a firmware update when I got home because of that. So that's one of them anyway. But I remember that when I have Surfaces and my Surface Book Go. That's pretty common. They like to keep that. To me, that's always a good sign. In fact, if I got a laptop and hasn't had a BIOS update in years, I'm not sure that's a good thing.
I know.
Now the moment Mary Jo waits for all day long.
I do, every week.
Time for the Xbox.
Don't hold your breath. This isn't going to take too long.
Short, okay.
Actually, they also announced the Xbox games with gold for December, but we could just skip over that till next week. So Microsoft this past year released a diskless, I want to make sure I say that correctly, version of the Xbox One S. And unfortunately, they sold it for $250, which is about $100 too much, and nobody bought it. So right now it is on sale, part of the Black Friday stuff I'll be discussing later in the tip. $149.99.
Wow. I saw the ad for this. Should I? I mean, I don't even need it. I want to buy it.
Yeah. So here's the deal. If this thing doesn't sell, they might just get rid of it. We might be dealing with an optical disk drive for the rest of our lives.
So how much storage is on this? 1 terabyte. I see it on the box.
Terabyte. Yeah.
So you might, but can you still add a USB external?
No.
You cannot.
No.
So that would be the one drawback. I mean, a terabyte's a lot, but I
have never. Well, okay. So when the Xbox One first came out, the first gen version, I bought a disc-based game just to see what it was like, and of course I've played Blu-rays and things like that. But since then I've only gone digital. I could use this system. And the cost savings are fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, for you, because all you play is one game over and over and over again.
That hurts, Leo. It's because it's true.
Truth hurts.
It's not true. I play different versions of the same game over it. But anyway, yeah, so...
Well, is there room for all your DLC on a terabyte drive? I bet there is.
Yeah, I have several Call of Duty games on my 1 terabyte Xbox One X.
Truthfully, the disc experience is awful these days because you still download 60 gigabytes.
Oh, yeah.
After you get the disc. And all that means is really the disc becomes a copy protection device, nothing else. And that's dopey. Just get rid. I mean, you don't need a
obviously
disc.
It's inevitable. It's going to happen eventually, but
the only thing I don't like,
a lot of
it's my Blu-ray player. It's my UHD Blu-ray player. That's the only
but even
thing
that's another instance where I think that's inevitable too, right? Inevitably, that's
going away.
Will kind of go away.
Yeah. I still buy, of the movies I really like, I will buy a UHD version with HDR. Right. It still looks the best on my LG 4K. But you're right. Everybody streams now. It's all streaming.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a quick Xbox segment.
See? Told you.
Very non-painful.
Mary Jo?
Yes. Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh. Thanks, Paul.
You could be thankful that the Xbox segment was as short as it could possibly be.
Very short. I like it.
Now you have something to be thankful for tomorrow, Mary
I do.
And Lord, I want to thank you for Paul Thurrott's brevity.
I say that often, but yeah.
I bet.
Not.
It's weird. That one doesn't come up a lot.
No.
It does not.
You know what? You're a podcast host. You shouldn't be brief.
Right. Is there anything else you want to say about this? Nope.
What? Come on. I got to fill some time here. You know you're just the stuff between ads. Come on.
Exactly. That's our job.
That's otherwise all the ads happen all at once and nobody wants that. Do you want to talk about Apple and start?
Well, I will say this. You just said something that reminded me of this Apple story, because I saw that Apple had released an iOS update 13.1 billion, whatever it was, and I went and looked it up, and Apple has released 9 updates to iOS
in 2 months. More than one a week.
We complain about this stuff over here in Microsoft land, but my God, you have to reboot your device for every single one of these updates. That's crazy.
It's a lengthy.
I gotta say, I'm secretly happy about seeing this.
Yeah, not so secretly as it turns out.
Because you're Android users, is that why?
And also because Apple? Also because I feel like Apple users are always saying, "Look how buggy Windows is.
Yeah,
Look at all."
That's true.
Well, but
right?
You know what? So, Leo, I'm sorry. 2 things. First of all, you have to go look at the graphic I used for this story, because what you just said reminded me of this. This is the Bill Keane thing, who I always hated. The guy who does
he's a family circus guy. Yeah.
So I made fun of this on Twitter, and what I was amazed by was
that's really well done,
people,
Paul.
It is.
All I did was add the text, but I mean because if you scroll down, you'll see the original. It's not that well done. I just
no, but the text is hysterical. Look, dude, that's what a meme is. I just added the text.
There you go. Okay.
No, but look at the first comment, though. This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
The first comment. Oh, I have to log in. Hold on a second.
Yeah, still better than the Android experience. Right. That's what I mean. No, that's not
here
true.
Are Apple users.
Actually, the Apple users do. Well, they do that too, because this is the whole. I don't use Android, but somehow I know it's better. Whatever.
Yeah.
The issue I have is, logically, anyone should be able to look at this and say, yeah, they have a problem. And by the way, you don't even have to agree with that. Apple is implicitly acknowledging there's a problem. They're changing the way they develop iOS because of what's happening right now. Whatever. But it is amazing to me that, because I put this on Twitter, it's like, not that I expect a cheering section or whatever, but that anyone could try to defend Apple or even say, I'm glad this is happening. I like knowing that my phone is up to date. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you seriously? And it reminded me of this family circus, this exact cartoon. I remember this one, and I remember I wanted to find this guy and hurt him. I can't stand this kind of. Oh God, it's just
even
awful.
According to Mark Gurman, who's very well connected at Bloomberg, Even Apple acknowledges they screwed up.
That's what I mean.
What's interesting, though, it's a very similar screw up, in my opinion, to what Microsoft did with Windows 1903, which is they had all this public beta information, but it overwhelmed the system. And so, you know, because that's my question. Look, you public beta tested this for months. Same thing with 1909. Why didn't you know what you were going to, or 1903, I should say. Why didn't you know what was going to go wrong?
By the way, the first, not to go on and on about Apple, but the first hint of this was they completed development of iOS 13.1 before they shipped iOS 13.
Oh, yeah. Well, this was, and Gurman talks about this. The problem is they had features in the new iPhone 11 that needed iOS 13, would not work without it. And so they had to put iOS 13 on it. But the problem with hardware, as you know, is they're making it, they have to put an operating system on it before they put it on the tank. You know, the tanker to ship it across the ocean. So 13.1 wasn't ready yet. So they put 13.0 on it and said, just pray nobody uses it for too long. And then they pushed out 13.01 or 13.1, I can't remember which, within a week.
Right.
The problem is they had, as you point out, 8 more updates in the next 2 months.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So I only point this out not because our job here is Microsoft guys.
Schadenfreude. Come on.
No,
it
well,
is.
no. No. Yes. Okay. Screw it. Yes. But the reason, but there's a
yes.
But also because I think we can get a little caught up in our own problems, like anyone does, and it's healthy to understand that these kinds of things that we experience, like Cortana getting killed or whatever it is, these things happen elsewhere too, right? We don't focus on Apple and Google or Amazon or whoever, but these other companies have some of the same problems. Of course they do. You know, Apple, I would say with iOS 13, it's a little extreme. But if you ever feel bad about the multiple queue of updates you have to install every month on Windows 10 or whatever it is, you know, enjoy your iPhone. It's even worse.
So what Apple, and it is still pretty buggy, by the way. They have still problems. But what Apple's decided to do for iOS 14, besides making it what they call a snow leopard release, which is what 1909 is, which is bug fix, not new features, is change the way they get the telemetry from the public and private betas. Allow beta testers to switch off non-working features. The problem was there were so many non-working features, they just, you know, a lot of the bugs just like, well, it's just yet, I mean, didn't get reported. So they're going to have switches.
You realize this, Leo knows this, of course, but I mean, the problem I have with this is they've already done this before. They did this with iOS 11. Yeah. And when that thing came out, it was a buggy mess. They kind of came back and said, we're going to cancel some features from the next release. We're going to slow this thing down. That was when they did the battery life improvements. They started making older iPhones better for the first time ever, instead of explicitly making them worse. Everyone cheered them.
So does Microsoft.
Yeah.
Software is hard. These are older operating systems at this point. A lot of the things you do are a spaghetti code on top of spaghetti code, and it's hard to
for sure.
It's hard. It's hard to make it reliable. So I understand.
I'm just pointing it out because, you know, again, you get a little bit of tunnel vision, and you know, people will say to me things like, "Well, if you hate Windows so much, why don't you just use a Chromebook?" Or, you know, whatever. It's like I don't hate Windows. I you know, I want this platform to be as good as it can be. Sometimes it's not, you know, but it happens everywhere.
No, you know what I think is the difference, and we've said this before on the show too, is I think the Microsoft reporting community is very hard on Microsoft as a general rule. Yeah. And I don't think the Apple reporting community is.
Yeah, but everybody who's not in the Apple community, because Apple and Apple fans are so snooty.
Yeah.
Well, they're so unreasonably unrealistic about.
I know.
They just love dishing on
We've been dealing with this for decades, Leo. I won't point out who this is. What's the point? But years and years ago, a wife of a friend of mine says I was complaining about something with Windows, and she says, "Well, that's why I don't use Windows. That's why I use a Mac." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "Oh, Windows is so insecure and unreliable." And or whatever it was. And I said, "Well, when was the last time you used Windows?" And she said, "I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago." I said, "Well, how the hell would you know?" What are you talking about?
I hear things. I talk to my friends.
You don't know anything about it.
Exactly.
You use it. How would you know?
I see some ads. Yep.
You know? Yeah. But that's the mentality. Like, you get stuck.
We're all sheeple in our own way.
I think we are, but I also think we aren't as much. Not because we're so great.
You're going down the path that I wanted to go down, which is
right. Not because we're so amazing, right?
No. I think we're more
beaten down more.
Well, okay. No, we just don't buy into the BS as much as like Apple fans, like by and large, are always like, they're great. They love the planet and they're, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you can't even put icons where you want on the screen. Shut up. What are you talking about? It's crazy.
No, I just feel no, the whole butterfly keyboard thing. I'm thinking if that was on a Windows machine from Microsoft, that would have been ridiculed by the entire.
Who would be making fun of it the hardest?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right. The Apple guys. Yeah. They would be going to. They would love for that to happen. Microsoft.
Yeah. Believe me.
I don't know.
Plenty Apple guys, myself included, are beat down over that keyboard. It's been a very unpleasant several years.
You have like all your fingerprints are gone because you've been like bottoming out all the time.
I actually stopped buying Apple MacBooks. I just until I got the new one because they fixed it. But
well, that kills me too. It's like Apple fixed the keyboard. Did it? It released it on a $2,400 and up computer. No, I'm sure it's fine. It doesn't fix it for the 4 years worth of people who bought millions of those other devices that are like one crumb away from never working again. Like, what are you talking about?
Look how hard I was on Surfaces, right? Until this laptop. I every time I was like, it's not that great. I know it's winning awards and people are saying it's the best laptop in the world, but it's not.
No.
Just saying.
Oh God, Paul and I suffered with the Surface Book 1. We suffered.
Yeah, I gotta say the Surface Laptop 3 has really changed my
Surface
opinion.
Book 1, yes.
Surface Book 1, Paul. You remember that long?
Oh yeah.
It was a literal dumpster fire.
Yeah.
It was. Everyone who had one of those experienced.
Couldn't detach the thing, and then it got halfway detached, right?
Or it would detach on its own, or you'd open your bag and it would be on fire.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
That was always the best. I remember opening on a plane, opening my bag, and I could feel warmth coming out of it, and I was like, oh no.
Oh, I know.
You're
it's
like,
terrible.
It's
like
I
when
used to think like
got home last night.
The components are so hot.
And the garage, Lisa has a Chevy Bolt, an electric car. The lights were on. The whole thing was still on. I got in the car, the fan's blowing. It's like 80 degrees in there because the heat's blowing.
Oh, yeah.
And she hadn't turned it off. The problem with electric cars is sometimes you forget to turn them off. Mm-hmm. And
because it's silent, basically.
It's like my Tesla. Fortunately, the Tesla doesn't have an on-off switch. That's actually the right way to do it. I don't know why. It's a legacy thing that they have on-off switches. If you put the car in park, it's off.
Yeah.
Right. So because it's not like you have to start it up and rev the engine or anything to go. Yeah. You just put it in drive. So this is a legacy thing.
Well, don't you have to warm the glow plugs? Or
yeah, right. You have to warm up the glow plugs. Yeah. So fortunately, she plugged it in. So basically, it was like a computer, processing. It was plugged in. So it would have gone forever that way.
Yeah.
Draining power from the grid.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. If you guys ever hear a story that my house has burned down to the ground, you immediately need to contact the police and say, we believe it was a first-generation service book. It is in a box in the cellar.
His box is in the cellar.
Yeah, that will be the start of it.
Do you want to talk about Stadia? Do you care?
No, it's just the same thing again, Google, what's the countdown to Stadia
death
getting
clock.
killed off?
Stadia death clock.
I know.
Yep.
The clock has started. All right, let's take a break because I'm ready for some beer, Paul's tips. Black Friday is coming. Maybe you have some Black Friday ideas. But first, a word from our sponsor. It's always a happy day at the Advanced Technology Center at Worldwide Technology. WWT's ATC is a remarkable tool. Those of us who've been working in the industry for a while, I worked at Ziff Davis. I remember very well Patrick Norton, Jim Louderback, and others who built an amazing testing lab, the Ziff Davis Foster City Testing Lab. It was so useful. It was a place where all the magazines could go to test stuff. But that's long gone. Maybe that's why about 10 years ago, WWT decided to start this Advanced Technology Center, a place to test, a place they have, over the 10 years, put in more than $500 million worth of equipment from all the big enterprise SEO OEMs and the small ones, too. Heavyweights like NetApp and Cisco and VMware, little emerging disruptors. That list is changing all the time. Tanium, Equinix, Expanse. And if you're an enterprise technology user, this is such good news for you. When you go to WWT, when you say, well, we want to see how this NetApp is going to work in our existing system, they can spin up a proof of concept. They can do a trial. And you can actually see how things will integrate. It helps them get your new hardware and software up and running, go from proof of concept to deployment in a much shorter period of time with a lot more confidence. $500 million worth of equipment. This is one of the reasons WWT is really a trusted partner that stays with you over the years. Many of their customers have been with them since the very beginning. They know WWT is where they can go to get the answers they need to make sure their business has the right tools to get the job done. That ATC is an incubator for IT innovation. And what I love about it is you can use it too. They've got on-demand and schedulable labs, things like NetApp Cloud Volumes on tap on Flash, NetApp Disaster Recovery as a service. So before you want to see how those things work, you want to see how they'll integrate with what you've got, they've got hundreds of other labs, too, representing newest advances in flash storage and multi-cloud and hyper-converged infrastructure, cloud data management. It's a way for you and your staff to learn about products before you launch them. It's a way for WWT's engineers to quickly spin up proofs of concept and pilots. It's a sandbox so you can try stuff without any risk. And the lab as a service is so inspired. It's such a great idea. This is a dedicated lab space for you. Inside the ATC, you can perform your own programmatic testing with anything in the ecosystem, all that $500 million worth of gear, 24/7 from anywhere in the world. You don't have to come to St. Louis to do it. WWT's engineers work in these labs every day. You can too. They just launched their new digital platform, which encompasses the entire ecosystem at the Advanced Technology Center. It really creates a multiplier effect of knowledge, speed, and agility anytime, anywhere around the world for their customers. You'll get access not just to the labs, but articles, case studies, tools that make the difference. And you're spending a lot of money on enterprise technology. It better work. That's not, you know what? It's not even the money. It better work. Your business relies on it. To learn more about the WWT's ATC, sign up for access to this new on-demand lab platform. Go to wwt.com/twit. Worldwide technology. wwt.com/twit. WWT simplifies the complex. We're going to do an event out there in St. Louis in the spring. And stay tuned. We'll give you the details on that. And I can't wait to go take a look at the ATC. wwt.com/twit. Worldwide technology, delivering business and technology outcomes all over the world. And we are so glad that they are sponsors of our shows. And we appreciate you showing them your appreciation, showing us your appreciation by going to wwt.com/twit. Use that special URL. Now, I think this would be a good time for Paul Thurrott. What's going on? To move out of his house into a new place. I don't know what's going on. Your tip of the week.
Did you have your window replaced today or something?
Is that what's going on?
Yeah, kitchen window.
What happened to it?
We have over the sink, it was kind of like two windows that kind of swung out, and I think they're original to the house, so they had rotted out.
Oh, okay.
And we opened one, and it, the metal thing popped off of the frame, and it's like, well, we have another one, that's fine. And then it happened to the other one, so we, so now it's been replaced by a non-wood set of windows. So.
Yeah.
Are you doing that kind of construction the day before Thanksgiving? By the way, always smart. Always smart.
I know. I was like, wow.
It's never easy to get the sash out. You gotta, it's just a thing.
No, those guys, they were professionals. They were great.
Yeah. You gotta.
Also, actually, we might want to briefly tell Leo the Mary Jo 2 story.
What?
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
You should tell
incredible. Him. So, you remember? I've now told the story like 100 times because it's so awesome. But last June, we were in DC for an Avenge Point. What was it called? Shift Happens event. And Brad and I were going to the bar. We're going to meet Mary Jo. Mary Jo was traveling by train. She had texted me. I didn't think she was there yet. We were just having this conversation. Walked in the bar. Looked through the bar. There at the bar is Mary Jo.
Yeah.
Remember the story?
Yeah.
So I
you
finally
walk
just
up
got
to
the
her.
ankle
It's not really
bracelet
Mary
up from
Jo, but a laughter all
yeah.
around.
So,
Yes.
but the kicker to this story, aside from the fact that I manhandled someone I don't know, which is creepy on all kinds of levels.
What'd you do?
She
I
later.
don't want to know. Never mind.
Well, I just came up. I rubbed her shoulders. And it was another
that's
woman.
not so bad. That's all right.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyway, I bought her meal because I felt bad, and then she kind of came by and was talking to us later, and she's like, "Oh, you didn't have to buy my lunch." I'm like, "Yeah, I felt like a jerk." And Tina, a woman I work with, was asking her about where she was from, and it kind of was this escalating kind of thing. Well, I live outside of Philadelphia, and I'm like, "Oh, so do I." And she's like, "Really?" She's like, "Not the Lehigh Valley," and I'm like, "Yep." And she's like, "I live in Macungie or Lower Macungie." I'm like, "So do I." And she's like, "Oh, come on, you got to understand. This is the smallest place on earth. Like, it's incredible."
That's
and without
hysterical.
further violating this woman's privacy, I'll just say, I live on a corner of these two streets, and the development that I live in, the other corner is the street that she lives on.
She's your neighbor.
She's my neighbor. And so I joked with her at the time. I said, someday you're going to be at the grocery store, and I'm going to come up from behind the carts.
Rub your shoulders again.
yeah.
Once again, our love will be consummated.
Right. So, by the way, from the back, she looks identical to Mary. From the front, no,
Not at all. Okay.
So last night we went. Stephanie's parents are here for Thanksgiving, and I haven't seen them since before the summer. And we were eating dinner, and Stephanie says, "Oh, you got to tell them the Mary Jo story." And I'm like, "Oh God!" I'm like, "This is kind of a long story," but I kind of walked through the story. I just briefly walked through it, and as I'm telling the story, I hear this person next to me go, "Holy shit, it's you!" And it was her. And she is literally at the next table in the same restaurant.
Oh, no. That's
and
hysterical.
So I was like, well, I guess you can meet my wife now, and I'm not a homicidal maniac. And my wife's parents and her kid, and whatever. So we took pictures and everything. It was
That's
great.
hysterical.
So
you gotta stalk her now. I mean, that's just,
I know.
You gotta show
put a
up
tracker on it
everywhere she goes.
I will say the capper to the so this crazy story gets even crazier because I see her again months later. But when they left and we were eating, and the waitress came over and she said, "Oh, I just wanted to let you know that woman bought you dessert."
Oh,
so she kind of paid me back for the.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice.
Nice.
Crazy.
Crazy. So
okay. Yes.
Let's get your tip of the week, sir.
Tip at hand. So, obviously, Black Friday is coming up. Black Friday, of course, is not really a day these days. It's like a week plus of events.
Well,
and
especially
sales
this
events.
year because it's so late in the month. They got to start early. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, right. That's true.
It's the latest Thanksgiving can be, practically.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I had to replace my Roku, and I bought a Fire TV because it was so cheap, like a Fire TV 4K stick, and $25.
Wow.
Awesome. But Microsoft, like other retailers, has their own sales. They kind of hinted at some of them earlier in the month. Some of them are live now. Some will go live over a period of time. But if you go to the Microsoft store, which is store.microsoft.com or xbox.com, you can see the kind of stuff that's available. And to my mind, the best thing that they're offering on sale is the Surface Laptop 3, which is up to $300 off. Actually, is $300 off if you buy the consumer version. And that's if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, Mary Jo just decided to keep hers. That's a tremendous savings. It's worth looking at. On the Xbox side, it's a little there's big savings on digital games. Those are a little tough to give as a present. I think it's like here's a piece of paper with a code on it, or however you do that. But the one thing I did avail myself of is a lot of their wireless controllers are for sale. And so a $60 wireless controller is $40 now. That's a good price, too, for that kind of thing. So I actually just bought one of those. So anyway, be sure to check out xbox.com or store.microsoft.com. Also, I should say, if you prefer to shop at other retailers, like Amazon, especially because of the shipping or whatever, many of these items, the physical goods items, not the digital games, but the physical items will be available for those prices elsewhere as well at participating retailers, and Amazon's one of them. So that's something to look at as well. And then the app pick of the week, I chose Outlook.com and Outlook on the web because they're now PWAs. You may not see it if you're using the beta version of Edge. You might want to just wait. It is fair to say that there's no functional difference. So if you just want to save the existing web page as a shortcut like that, it works. It's fine. But I'm thinking they're going to update this thing. You might want to do it as a real PWA just to get the benefit of that. But the real reason I'm picking this is because I have been looking for an email app on and off for the past whole entire of my life, really. I mean, I've been looking at
Outlook Express coming back.
Yeah. I very much like, remember they redid Outlook.com and of course Outlook on the web as well to match sometime in the past, I want to year, 15 months or whatever. I really, really like the new Outlook.com. I have been saying for months, I would love to use this. I wish this was the app in Windows 10. And if I can get that functionality with Gmail, I would absolutely use this. People have asked me things like, well, I have like Gmail, or I guess it's G Suite with a custom domain. I want to put it on Outlook.com. What does that look like? It's complicated, right? You have to go through GoDaddy for one thing, which a lot of people might not want to do. Don't go through any of that stuff. If you can get Gmail, like just keep Gmail where it is and pull it in, and you can add just do it that way. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I can't use Outlook.com as my primary email unless that happens, but I am very, very much looking forward to doing that. Just take a look at them again if you haven't.
And you'd use Outlook.com instead of Office Outlook. I mean, you said they're the same.
I use both. The reason I use Outlook.com over Outlook on the web is that Outlook on the web is tied to a domain that no one knows, and I don't have any email coming into it. My Outlook.com account dates back to it's a Hotmail account, so it literally is 18 years old. Like I've had it forever, and I get a lot of email there. But my primary email is not the Outlook account. It's not the Hotmail account. It's my paul@thurrott.com, which is a G Suite account. So I can't change that. It's for work. But if I could collect that email at Outlook.com, which I think is going to happen soon, I would just use Outlook.com without having to change anything on the back end. Yeah. Right? It would just work. So I'm looking forward to that.
Can you use other IMAP providers yet? Or
no, the way it works right now, and again, it's only for some people, it's only Gmail and it's only one Gmail account. It does work with G Suite accounts. And also, I knew this. I didn't mention it. Rich Woods just texted me on Twitter. He was telling me that the business version of the Surface 15-inch, Surface laptop 3 15-inch is also on sale. It's $200 off.
Oh, wow.
The reason you might want to get that is
one.
because it's the Intel. That's exactly right.
Ooh.
Yep.
That's tempting.
Yep. Good to know.
Yep. Can you, this is a crazy question, and then we'll go on to Mary Jo, but can you, so my business uses, my job, my radio show uses Outlook. iHeartMedia uses Outlook. Can you have multiple PWAs for different Outlook accounts? Like, could I have two? Oh,
jeez. Right. That's like a multi-session kind of thing.
Yeah.
So now when you say Outlook, what do you mean by that? Do you mean
I have an Outlook.com login?
Okay. So Outlook.com used to support that. They don't anymore. If you use a Google account, you know that they do. You can have multiple accounts and you can kind of switch between them. Actually,
but
if you do it on
PWA,
Gmail,
could I just save it as two? Log in once, make it a
PWA.
No. Log in, no. There's a central store for credentials. I'm going to try it anyway.
It's interesting. So here's the way you could get around that. This is a little strange, but you could do one in Brave and one in Edge.
Different browser. Yeah. There you go.
But in the same browser,
no, but
I don't believe
it doesn't need to be the same
so.
browser. No.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That would work. Yeah.
Because I never remember to log in. I think I read it.
I like the way Google handles it. If you use Google account online, I'm trying to think of a good example.
You have where your head is in the corner. You could drop down and say, I want to use this account.
Right. So the problem it's not a problem, actually. They do it right.
They're different inboxes. They're not
if you're looking at Gmail and you go up to that head thing and you go and select a different account, it actually opens a new window or tab. So you can actually have them side by side. It doesn't replace the one you're using, you know what I mean, like in the view. But that's probably the way you would want it, right? It's a separate window. But I don't think you could save those as, even in Gmail. I don't think you could save that shortcut again and have it remember. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think that would work. I don't think so. I'm going to play with that now. I'm curious.
Yeah, I want to mess with it.
Right.
Mary Jo Foley, time for the Enterprise Pick of the Week.
Yes. Enterprise Pick of the Week is yet another acronym. We've had a lot of acronyms on the show. ODI is the acronym. Open Data Initiative.
That's an old acronym. That's been around a long time.
Yeah. Open Data Initiative was one of the biggest announcements Microsoft made at Ignite 2018. This is when they had SAP and Adobe on the stage, and they said, we three companies are creating a common data model so that people who have CRM, ERP, commerce, sales data are going to be able to have a single view of the customer. We're making it so all the entities in this data will go into the same data lake. Data lake, everyone drink. At Ignite this year, though, they didn't mention ODI at all. Almost I think there might have been one session on ODI. When I was doing my interviews there, I asked, what's going on with ODI? It was such a big deal in 2018, and now you're not even talking about it in 2019. So there are things happening. This is why I made this a pick, because kind of in the background, a lot of things are happening with ODI. It's actually in private preview now with a handful of customers. The three main founders, Microsoft, Adobe, and SAP, are doing a lot of things to integrate their own products into the common data model that they're building. And I just wanted people to know it's not dead. It's not one of these things where Microsoft makes a big splash and then it's like, yeah, maybe we'll do it someday. It's actively moving forward. Microsoft's integrating things with it, like the Azure Data Factory, Azure Databricks, and the new Azure Synapse Analytics. Wow, that's a lot of Azure. And then in their own respective worlds, Adobe and SAP are integrating their various products with this metadata model. So I think we're going to hear a lot more about this in 2020. But just so anyone who was kind of wondering what was happening with that knows, it's not dead, and there are things going on in the background.
I feel like there's something missing from this show, and you know what it is?
What?
You haven't said Chredge all day.
I have not. I know. It's time to say it.
What kind
Enterprise
of window?
Pick 2. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So this was something I didn't pick up on at Ignite, but somebody recently brought it to my attention. We know that Chredge, the Chromium-based Edge browser, is going to roll out in version 1 to mainstream users, not just insider testers, starting on January 15th, 2020. What I didn't realize, because I guess, when you're at these shows, you don't really go back over the blog posts when they get posted by the companies, but there were hints in Microsoft's blog posts that they are going to be doing a lot more for consumers and developers, specifically with Chredge in the spring. What they said in their original blog post. Sorry?
No, like what?
like what? Right. Yeah. So what they actually said was, when we launch Edge in January, this will be mainly for our commercial customers. What that means is businesses, right? So they are going to kind of look more at what businesses are doing and kind of play it up to businesses and try to get them to adopt it when it starts rolling out in January, which is surprising given when they started beta testing Chredge, it was first with consumers and not businesses. But then they say, we will be excited to share more how we will expand opportunities for developers, and later in the spring, even more for consumers. So I made this a pick today because I'm like, okay, so there's a bunch of features. I mean, Chredge doesn't have all the features right now. It's missing some things like history syncing, I think, and what else? Extension syncing is still missing. But they're hinting by the spring, some of these, maybe these features or other features more of interest to consumers will be added to Chredge. Did I say Chredge enough?
Hey, by the way, guys, Rambling Geek on Twitter is telling me that you can do what Leo wants to do, which is have two different shortcuts.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Different Outlook accounts.
Good. Separate stores.
And he even made a little animated GIF showing how it works.
Wow.
Well,
Very
thank
nice.
you, sir.
That is fast work. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Chredge is close, like January 15th. It's not that far away anymore that we'll get version 1.
Amazing, isn't it? Wow.
I know.
Can we get through Thanksgiving and Christmas first, please?
I know. Sorry.
Understand.
I'm already getting you excited for January 15th.
Why are we celebrating another holiday?
I know.
It's the war on Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
I've had enough.
That's all Chredge is about.
Yep. War on Thanksgiving. All right, let's get a beer.
Yep. So the beer pick is from Rhode Island because I am in Rhode Island. right now.
Nice.
I like to make it thematic. So
if it's Narragansett, I'm going to boo.
It is not. I can tell you it is not
It's back,
Narragansett.
baby.
Narragansett.
The Schlitz of Rhode Island.
Nope. No, if you're in Rhode Island, I would recommend you find some beers from Proclamation Ale Company.
Oh, wow.
They are based in Warwick.
Oh, my.
They make a lot of different beer styles, and they get really high ratings for their beer styles. But, of course, given I'm in New England, I'm going to go with a New England IPA.
Yeah.
Their New England IPA that I have right in a cooler nearby is Tendril. Tendril. It's a 7% basic New England IPA with all the juicy, sweet, luscious, tropical hops that you would want in a New England IPA. And I think for your Thanksgiving, it would be a nice option.
Nice.
So it's called Proclamation Tendril.
Wow. This show.
It's a 92 Beer Advocate.
This show is so complete.
You learn so many things on this show, don't you?
Thorough.
It's the second half of your sentences I'm always interested in. It's like, this show is going down the tubes.
This show is over. That's what I was about to say. Yeah. No, well done. Bravo. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. I hope you... Now, I know Mary Jo's at her sister's for Thanksgiving. What are you doing, Paul? You have family coming, or...
We have 22 people coming to this house tomorrow.
Are you kidding me? What? Lucky you fixed that kitchen window, man.
Wow. And what are you going to cook the turkey? What are you doing?
We have 2 turkeys. My wife does the absolute best possible Thanksgiving spread you can imagine. It's amazing. Man.
Maybe it's 23 people coming. I'm on my way.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. If you're looking for that kind of Norman Rockwell experience, we're going to deliver that.
You got to do it. Let's put a picture.
You bringing the other Mary Jo? So is she invited also?
We talked about it. Maybe next year.
For Thanksgiving, I'll give you a back rub.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'll sneak
Give me the rest of my family. They're also touchers. We're a family of touchers.
Oh, my. Paul Thurrott is at Thurrott.com. That's his website, THURROTT.com. They don't take a break over the holiday. They're there all the time cranking out articles about all that stuff you love so much. He also writes books, the Field Guide to Windows 10 being the latest, soon to be the 2004 edition.
It's funny you say that because I was thinking that this release is so minor. I could probably just update the book pretty easily. Yeah.
Skip right into 1909. Skip right through it and go right over to 2004.
I'm gonna look at that this weekend, I think.
Leanpub.com. Get it. You got to get it. You get updates. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
It's compulsively updated.
Mary Jo Foley is at allaboutmicrosoft.com, her ZDNet blog. She's having a traditional New England Thanksgiving.
You know what I'm making?
Succotash.
For myself?
What?
No.
Succotash. Chitlins.
No, stuffed lobster tail.
Oh. Now we're talking. What do you stuff it with?
I'm doing a little traditional, a little bit of bread stuffing, celery, thyme, sage.
So it'll be like a turkey stuffing in a lobster tail.
Except made with chopped lobster meat in the shell.
Oh.
Yeah. I think that's going to be fantastic. I'm kind of a traditionalist, for Thanksgiving, but obviously you're not going to eat, turkey. You don't eat turkey.
I don't eat turkey.
Oyster is a traditional stuffing ingredient.
Yep.
So it's not unusual to put shellfish into a stuffing.
Yep.
Wow.
I'll take some photos and put them on Instagram.
That sounds great.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go back to Instagram. I think I'm missing out on life. I don't know what any of you guys are
what you're missing out on are highly targeted ads, lots of food pictures, and then people abusing hashtags.
I forgot.
Come on back.
Yeah, good point.
I did forget about that part.
Good point.
We're going to take Thursday and Friday off for the holidays. I hope you are with family and friends on this Thanksgiving if you live in the U.S. You Canadians suck it. You already had yours. You don't get another one.
I had $1 for every time I said that.
No, we love our Canadians. And for the rest of you saying, Thanksgiving, what? Just, having a regular Thursday. But we will be back with Windows Weekly next Wednesday at our usual time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. You can watch us do it live at twit.tv/live. If you're doing that, chat with us. irc.twit.tv. No, you don't need an IRC client, although you could use one because we've got a web client as well at that website, irc.twit.tv. On-demand versions available at our website, twit.tv/ww. That's the Windows Weekly page, twit.tv/ww. You can download the podcast of your dreams there. There's all of them are there, 649 episodes. Pick the one you like. This is 649, a good one to start with. And then my other advice to you, if you do like the podcast, the on-demand version of the show, is to subscribe to it in your favorite podcast player. That way, two things happen. One, you get it automatically the minute it's available. You don't have to think about it. Two, it sends a signal to that podcast program, whether it's iTunes or Google or Pocket Casts or Overcast or Stitcher or Slacker. It sends them a signal that you like the show, and that helps us because it helps us with discovery. Sometimes they feature us if enough people subscribe. So please do me a favor and do that. We also have a brand new community, a forum that's just going great guns. It's the Twit community. It's at twit.community. And you're more than welcome to join us. It's really designed for people who would chat, except they're not watching live. So it's kind of like the chat, but not in real time. And it's a lot of fun. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Maria Jo. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.
Thank you. You too.
You too.